It started with a headline no one saw coming. Unbelievable collision. Jamie Dornan exposes Dakota Johnson's fake side to everyone. By the time the morning shows aired, the clip had already gone viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments, and one central question flooding the internet. What did Jamie Dornan just say? The story began during what was supposed to be a harmless interview, a lighthearted reunion appearance on a popular late-night talk show. Jamie was there to promote his latest film, but as always, the host couldn't resist bringing up 50 Shades and his long-standing connection with Dakota Johnson. So, be honest, the host teased, leaning forward. You and Dakota. What's she really like off-screen? Because people have all sorts of theories about your chemistry. Jamie laughed at first, the way he always did when Dakota's name came up, a polite, guarded laugh. She's Dakota, he said vaguely, shrugging. What you see is what you think you're seeing. The host pressed on, sensing something. What do you mean? You sound like there's more to it. Jamie hesitated. For a moment, he seemed to weigh his words carefully, the studio lights catching the tension in his jaw. Then, almost too quietly to be casual, he said, let's just say, not everything people see is real. The audience laughed nervously, unsure whether it was a joke. But Jamie didn't smile. He leaned back, eyes distant. You know, people build images in this industry, versions of themselves the world wants to love. But behind that, sometimes it's very different. The host raised an eyebrow. So, are you saying Dakota has a fake side? Jamie's silence said more than any answer could. He didn't deny it. He simply looked down at his hands, sighed, and said, I've known her a long time. I've seen both sides. The audience murmured. The clip ended there, but it was enough. Within hours, social media exploded. Twitter hashtags like #JamieExposesDakota, #FakeDakota, and #JamieSpeaksOut trended worldwide. Fan communities split in half. One side furious at Jamie for betraying someone he'd called his closest friend, and the other claiming he'd simply spoken the truth. Wow, can't believe he finally said it, one fan wrote. Always knew their friendship was too good to be true. Another shot back. How could he? She defended him for years, and now this? Even tabloids jumped on it instantly. E! News ran with the headline, Jamie Dornan calls out Dakota Johnson's fake personality in shocking interview, while Daily Mail dissected every second of the footage, publishing stills of his expression, the lowered gaze, the tight smile, as evidence of hidden resentment. By noon, the host's official YouTube channel had racked up 10 million views. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Some users claimed Jamie was only being honest, while others accused him of jealousy and bitterness. Meanwhile, Dakota Johnson, usually the calm center of every storm, remained silent. But that silence only fueled speculation. She's pretending it doesn't bother her, one anonymous source told People. But it does. She feels betrayed. She trusted Jamie. Others suggested there had been tension building for months, that their once playful friendship had quietly deteriorated. They were close, a production insider said. But after 50 Shades, fame hit them differently. Dakota kept her distance, and Jamie, well, he didn't like what she became. That quote went viral too. Even former co-stars weighed in. One actress who'd worked with both said diplomatically, they're both passionate people. When you spend that much time together, sometimes admiration turns into friction. But fans weren't buying diplomacy. They wanted blood, or truth. Within 24 hours, paparazzi swarmed Jamie's home in London and Dakota's house in Malibu. He was photographed looking tense, clutching his phone, refusing to answer questions shouted across the street. Jamie, do you regret your comments about Dakota? Someone yelled. He said nothing. Across the ocean, Dakota was spotted leaving a cafe, her face half hidden behind sunglasses, her expression unreadable. The caption beneath her photo in TMZ read, Dakota Johnson breaks silence by staying silent. Behind the curtain, insiders claimed things were worse than anyone realized. Jamie had reportedly sent her a private message after the interview aired, trying to explain himself, but she never replied. He didn't mean to attack her, a mutual friend said. He was just tired of the facade. He's seen the real Dakota, the one the world doesn't know, and he felt like someone had to say it. But whatever his intentions were, the damage was done. Their bond, once one of the most admired friendships in Hollywood, now lay in pieces under the world's spotlight. The next night, Jamie made an appearance at a charity dinner. Cameras followed him everywhere, waiting for a reaction. He finally stopped, turned to the reporters, and said with quiet finality, "You can only hide behind an image for so long. Sooner or later, the truth catches up." The crowd gasped. Reporters shouted follow-up questions, but Jamie just walked away, expression unreadable. That one line, recorded, clipped, and shared endlessly, ignited the internet all over again. Because if it wasn't already clear before, it was now. Jamie Dornan hadn't just hinted. He had exposed something real. And the whole world wanted to know exactly what he meant. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Overnight, Jamie Dornan's comment had become the center of the biggest celebrity controversy of the year. The internet was on fire, tabloids were calling it Hollywood's betrayal of the decade, and fans of both stars were at war. But beneath the noise and speculation, the real story was far more human, and far more painful. Dakota Johnson's silence lasted 3 days. On the fourth morning, she finally broke it. Appearing unexpectedly at a small film festival panel in Santa Monica, she faced a wall of flashing cameras. Everyone waited for her to lash out or deny the rumors, but instead, she smiled faintly and said, "People will always create stories from half-truths. I've learned to live with that." Then, after a pause that seemed to last forever, she added softly, "But I guess we all wear masks sometimes, even the people who say they don't." The audience fell silent. Some took it as a jab back at Jamie. Others thought it sounded like acceptance. Whatever she meant, it only deepened the mystery. That same night, Jamie was photographed leaving a private event in London. For the first time since the scandal broke, he looked tired, older somehow, his usual confidence replaced by something heavier. A reporter shouted, "Jamie, are you still talking to Dakota?" He stopped for a moment, his expression unreadable, and said quietly, "Not right now. But someday, I hope we can." Behind the scenes, their teams were in full crisis mode. PR specialists drafted statements, but Jamie refused to release one. "I said what I said," he told his manager. "If I start explaining, it'll sound like I lied." But he hadn't lied, not exactly. In truth, his words on that talk show had come from frustration, not malice. He hadn't meant fake in the way the tabloids twisted it. What he'd meant was that Dakota had learned, like so many in Hollywood, to protect herself behind an image, a smile, a laugh, a version of herself that the world loved because it looked effortless. But Jamie had seen the cracks. He'd seen her exhausted, crying between takes, doubting herself when everyone else thought she was unshakable. That was the fake side he'd meant, not deceit, but survival. Days later, a close friend of Jamie's spoke anonymously to GQ. He didn't expose her out of spite, the friend explained. He was hurt. They were inseparable for years, trusted each other completely. But when fame hit, everything changed. He felt like he lost the real her to Hollywood. The quote hit differently. Suddenly, public opinion began to shift. Fans who had been furious at Jamie started to wonder if the story was deeper than a betrayal. Maybe he wasn't attacking her, one viral tweet read. Maybe he was mourning who she used to be. 2 days after that article, Jamie appeared at a charity event. Instead of avoiding the press, he approached the red carpet calmly. When a journalist asked if he regretted his words, he took a deep breath and said, "I regret how people heard them, not what they meant." "What did you mean?" the reporter asked. Jamie paused, choosing his words carefully. "Dakota's one of the most honest people I know," he said. "But honesty isn't about always smiling. Sometimes, it's about showing the parts you hide from the world. That's all I wanted people to understand." That clip, Just 40 seconds long, spread like wildfire. The next morning, every entertainment outlet ran the headline. Jamie Dornan clarifies explosive comments. I never called her fake. I called her human. When Dakota saw it, she reportedly texted him a single line, "Finally." Their reconciliation didn't happen in front of cameras. No interviews, no photo ops. Just a quiet meeting in a small cafe in Los Angeles, away from the flashing lights. An eyewitness described it as emotional but peaceful. They talked for over 2 hours, the source said. No arguments, no accusations. Just two people who missed understanding each other. By the time they left, Dakota's eyes were red, and Jamie's hand brushed against hers for a moment before they went separate ways. It wasn't a romantic gesture, it was forgiveness. In the weeks that followed, the storm began to calm. Tabloids moved on to new scandals, and fans stopped dissecting every quote. When Dakota was later asked about the incident in an interview, she smiled and said, "Sometimes people tell the truth in the wrong way. But truth is still truth." Jamie, for his part, stayed quiet. He didn't need to say more. Months later, when the two appeared unexpectedly at the same charity gala, the crowd erupted. Cameras flashed as they hugged, genuine, warm, and lingering just a moment too long. "No bad blood," Dakota said into the microphone, smiling. "Just lessons learned." Jamie laughed softly beside her. "Maybe a little chaos was worth it," he said. The audience cheered. And just like that, what began as an exposé ended as something much more powerful, a story not of betrayal, but of honesty, misunderstanding, and the strange, fragile friendship that had somehow survived it all. Because in Hollywood, everyone wears a mask. But for one brief moment, Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson had both let theirs slip, and the world had seen something real.